They say money makes the man, but what if the strongest attraction has nothing to do with your bank account? What if charm alone isn't enough to make her stay? And what if the real power lies in understanding something she doesn't even fully grasp herself? Most men go through life believing they need to impress women with status, looks, or flashy behavior. But the truth? Attraction isn't built on surface level tricks, it's built on hidden psychological triggers, the subtle signals and subconscious cues that activate her deepest desires. These aren't gimmicks or games. They're real, powerful, and often invisible to the average man. Because just like men, women are full of emotional instincts. They don't fully understand needs, vulnerabilities, and reactions shaped by biology and experience. The problem is, most men go their whole lives without learning to recognize these soft spots, let alone use them with confidence and integrity. That ends today. In this video, we're diving deep into 10 hidden female weaknesses, psychological patterns that, once understood, will forever change the way you connect, lead, and create attraction. This isn't manipulation, it's insight. And once you see what's behind the curtain, you'll never look at relationships the same way again. Let's get into it. Number 1. Her deepest craving, emotional stability she can trust. Women are emotional by nature, not because they're unstable, but because their feelings are deeply connected to how they make decisions, especially in relationships. And hidden within that emotional depth is one of their greatest weaknesses: their need for emotional certainty. A woman can be attracted to looks, charm, or chemistry, but none of that lasts if she doesn't feel safe, emotionally safe. She needs to know that the man she's with isn't going to crumble when life gets hard, that he won't lash out when things don't go his way, and that he can handle both her emotions and his own with strength and steadiness. When a man becomes overly reactive, constantly moody, or dependent on her to regulate his feelings, something inside her begins to shut down. Why? Because the moment she feels like she has to be the emotional anchor, the polarity shifts. You become the fragile one. She becomes the leader. And whether she admits it or not, that kills attraction almost instantly. Women are naturally drawn to masculine energy, and masculine energy is stable, composed, grounded. So, when you embody stoic confidence, staying calm when she's upset, steady when the world feels shaky, and centered when things go sideways, you become the emotional safe space she craves, even if she doesn't consciously realize it. Think of it like this. If you're the storm, she has to brace herself. But if you're the mountain, she can rest against you. That's what emotional certainty looks like. It's not about suppressing your feelings or pretending to be made of stone. It's about having the strength to hold space for both your emotions and hers without letting them throw you off course. The man who masters this becomes more than attractive. He becomes magnetic. He becomes rare. And in a world full of men who panic, complain, and lose control, the one who stays grounded becomes the one she never wants to lose. Number 2, once you become that emotional safe haven, once she senses that you're grounded no matter what, something unexpected happens. She stops feeling in control. She begins to wonder, can I ever fully have this man? And that curiosity, that slight uncertainty, becomes a new trigger. Because here's another truth that most men miss entirely. Women are irresistibly drawn to what they can't fully possess. It's human nature. We value what is scarce. Diamonds, exclusive luxury items, rare experiences. They captivate us not because they're useful, but because they're elusive. Attraction follows the same principle. A woman's hidden weakness isn't always her heart, it's her instinct to pursue something just out of reach. When a man is too available, too eager, or constantly showing up without mystery, his value diminishes in her subconscious mind. She might enjoy the attention, but she won't crave it. She won't chase it. But when you introduce distance and no coldness, but a confident kind of independence, you flip the script. You become the unknown. You create space for her imagination to fill in the blanks. And that space? It drives desire. She starts wondering where you are, who you're with, what you're thinking. That mystery becomes addictive. But here's the key. You don't manufacture scarcity, you live it. You maintain a life that doesn't orbit around her. You keep your priorities in check. You don't answer every message immediately, not because you're playing games, but because you're genuinely focused on your mission. You don't overshare on day one. You reveal your layers slowly, purposefully. You let her earn access to the deeper parts of who you are. Because the moment she feels like she has you fully figured out, the magic starts to fade. Curiosity dies, and with it, the emotional pursuit. The smartest men understand this. Attraction isn't just about presence, it's about tension, the balance between connection and distance. You give enough to spark interest, but not so much that she stops wondering. Keep a part of yourself undefined, unpredictable. Let her feel like there's always more to discover. And when you do, you'll find that she's not just drawn to you, she's captivated. Not because you chased her, but because you stayed just far enough away for her to keep reaching. Number 3, that curiosity she feels the pull toward what's uncertain is magnified when it comes wrapped in presence. Not words, not actions, just presence. And one of the most silent but powerful elements of male presence is something most men never think about, your voice. Specifically, the depth and control of it. A deep, calm, measured voice triggers something primal in a woman's subconscious. It's not just cultural, it's biological. Evolution has wired women to associate a deeper tone with strength, protection, and leadership. Studies prove it. Men with deeper voices are consistently rated as more attractive, more dominant, and more capable of handling challenges. But here's where most guys miss the mark. It's not only about how you sound. It's about the energy you carry before you even open your mouth. Presence isn't volume, it's vibration. It's the stillness in your posture, the patience in your movements, the confidence in your eye contact. A man with true presence doesn't need to announce himself. He enters a room and instantly changes the energy. He speaks slowly, not because he's unsure, but because he knows his words carry weight. He doesn't fidget, doesn't rush, doesn't fill silence with noise. And women notice, not consciously at first, but they feel it. They sense the contrast between a man who holds himself like he belongs and one who seeks permission to be seen. The mistake many men make is thinking attraction starts with what they say. In reality, it often begins before they speak. Slouched shoulders, darting eyes, jittery hands, these small signals communicate low confidence before you've said a single word. And when that's the case, your message doesn't matter. So what does it look like to truly own your presence? It means walking with intention, standing tall, grounded in your frame, maintaining calm, steady eye contact that's relaxed, not confrontational, speaking in a tone that's deliberate, not rushed, not forced, but calm and commanding. When you operate like that, you don't just capture attention, you command respect. And the best part? You don't need to say much, because the stronger your presence, the more magnetic you become. A man who knows how to hold space, who doesn't need to perform, who carries silence like a weapon. He doesn't chase attraction. He draws it in without effort. And that kind of presence, it speaks louder than charm ever could. Number 4. And once you've embodied that calm, unshakable presence, the kind that turns heads without effort, there's one move that amplifies it all. The ability to walk away, because nothing signals power louder than detachment. Women can't resist a man who walks away, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. It taps directly into one of their deepest psychological triggers: fear of loss. Human beings instinctively value what they're afraid to lose. Its basic psychological scarcity creates value. And when you show a woman, not with words but with action, that you're willing to walk away if you're not respected, something inside her shifts. Most men do the opposite. The moment she pulls back, they lean in. When she gets distant, they get desperate. They chase. They explain. They began in doing so. They reveal their emotional dependence. But the man who doesn't flinch, who stays calm when she withdraws, who can walk away like he has nothing to prove, that man becomes unforgettable. He communicates a truth that no text could ever say: I don't need you to complete me. And that level of independence, of emotional strength, is magnetic. It's not about being cold or punishing her. It's about setting a silent standard. You're not available for games. You're not here to convince someone of your worth. You already know it. When you can leave with peace instead of panic, she feels it. Because that energy says, I choose you, but I don't chase you. And in a world where most men fold at the first sign of rejection, the one who walks away with grace and control stands out. Think of it like this. If you're always available, always trying to fix things, always the one reaching out, you lose leverage. But when you step back, when you hold your frame, when you let her feel the space you once filled, that's when her mind starts racing. Not because you played a trick, but because you broke the pattern. She expected you to fight for her. Instead, you fought for yourself. That shift changes everything. A woman may test you, may even pull away to see how you'll react, but when you don't collapse under the pressure, when you simply let go with quiet confidence, it's the ultimate reversal. You become the man who values his peace over her presence. And that, ironically, is what makes her want to come closer. Number 5. When you can walk away without hesitation, without drama, without emotional collapse, you become the man she can't control. But there's something even more powerful than the ability to leave. Something that anchors your presence and elevates your value beyond surface attraction. That force is purpose. A man on a mission triggers something primal in a woman. It tells her you're not just existing, you're building, aiming, becoming. And that energy, it's magnetic. It's rare. Most men unknowingly give their power away by making a woman their mission. They make her the center of their universe, constantly checking in, constantly seeking validation, prioritizing her above their goals. And ironically, that devotion often backfires. Because the moment she becomes your purpose, she starts to lose respect. Women don't want to be your everything. They want to be a part of something greater you're already chasing. Purpose creates gravity. It gives you direction, structure, and confidence that doesn't rely on her presence. When you're committed to a vision, whether that's building a business, mastering your craft, pushing your body, or leveling up mentally, you radiate focus. You don't overreact to her silence. You don't pause your progress to explain yourself. You don't orbit her moods. You stay locked in. And women feel that. They sense when a man is driven by something bigger than approval. That kind of man doesn't drop everything for a last-minute plan. He doesn't hover around waiting for a text. He moves forward with or without her. And that mindset makes him irresistible. Because now, she's no longer your center, she's a witness to your expansion. The real question every man should ask isn't, how do I get her? It's, what am I building? When your life is mission-driven, your energy shifts. You're no longer seeking to be wanted, you're seeking to fulfill your potential. And from that place, women come to you. Not because you begged, not because you proved anything, but because your purpose speaks for itself. A man with direction is hard to manipulate, hard to replace, hard to forget. He becomes a presence she can't ignore, not because he chased her, but because he's too busy becoming the man she always wished she could have. Number 6. A man on a mission is undeniably attractive, focused, disciplined, self-sufficient. But attraction doesn't stop at strength. It deepens when you know how to reveal what lies beneath it without ever collapsing into it. That's where vulnerability comes in. And this is where most men either overdo it or avoid it completely. See, women don't want a robot. They don't fall for emotional walls or cold detachment, but they also don't want someone who spills every insecurity, every fear, every past wound the moment they connect. The paradox is this. A woman is weak for a man who is strong enough to be open, but wise enough to stay in control. Too much vulnerability too soon comes across as neediness. Too little makes you seem emotionally unavailable. The sweet spot is selective vulnerability. You don't hide your struggles, you reveal them strategically. You let her see your depth, but never from a place of emotional dependence. You show her you've been through storms, but you don't ask her to rescue you from them. You speak honestly, but with calm strength, not desperation. Think of your emotions like the ocean. Powerful, deep, alive, but contained. When a man reveals his world gradually, with confidence and calm, he builds intimacy without sacrificing respect. He allows her to feel special for being trusted, without making her feel burdened by his healing process. That distinction matters. Because the moment your vulnerability becomes a bid for approval or constant validation, it turns into emotional weight. And attraction cannot grow under the weight of insecurity. The men who overshare everything, who constantly seek reassurance, who make their pain her responsibility, they lose their edge. Not because they feel too much, but because they handle it poorly. On the other hand, when you share from a place of grounded strength, when your emotions are integrated, not chaotic, you create a powerful bond. She sees your heart, but also your spine. She feels your pain, but also your resilience. And that balance, that's rare. That's what separates a man who's emotionally magnetic from one who's emotionally overwhelming. Mastering this paradox means knowing when to open up, how much to give, and when to hold the line. It means understanding that your vulnerability is not your weakness, it's your weapon, as long as you wield it with wisdom. Number 7. She'll test you to see if you're the real deal. You might think things are going well, she's laughing at your jokes, texting you back, showing all the signs of interest. And then suddenly she challenges you, disagrees with you over something small, goes cold for no reason, pushes a boundary just to see what you'll do. This confuses most men. They take it personally, get defensive, or worse, become insecure and start chasing harder. But here's what you need to understand. This isn't rejection. It's instinct. Women are hardwired to test the strength of the men they're attracted to, not because they're trying to be difficult, but because they want to know, can you handle pressure? Are you grounded in who you are, or are you easily thrown off course? These tests are subconscious. She's not always aware she's doing them, but she is watching your response. If you flinch, over-explain, or crumble emotionally, the signal is clear. You're not as solid as you seemed. On the other hand, if you remain calm, centered, and unmoved, you pass the test without even trying. And that response deepens her attraction, even if she doesn't admit it. Think of it like this. A woman wants to feel safe with you not just physically, but emotionally. If she can shake your confidence with a sarcastic remark, a change in tone, or a bit of distance, how can she trust you in real conflict, in real life? Your ability to hold your frame when things get unpredictable is what sets you apart. And here's the beautiful twist: women only test men they're attracted to. If she didn't care, she wouldn't bother. But because she does, she needs to know if you're real. So how do you pass these tests? Stay playful, not reactive. If she challenges your opinion, smile and hold your ground. If she pulls away, don't chase, let her come back on her own. If she tries to provoke emotion, respond with calm leadership, not frustration. A high-value man doesn't fear being tested. He expects it, he welcomes it, because he knows that pressure doesn't break him, it reveals him. And the moment she realizes that her tests don't shake you, she stops testing. Not because you want her approval, but because you prove something greater: you're already centered in your own. Number 8. Nothing is more attractive than a man who handles rejection with grace. One of the clearest signs of a high-value man is how he handles being told no. Most guys fear rejection like it's a death sentence. They avoid it, tiptoe around it, or crumble when it comes. But here's the truth that flips the dynamic entirely. Rejection is not the problem, your reaction to it is. Women are irresistibly drawn to men who remain unfazed when things don't go their way. Why? Because it signals true, unshakable self-worth. When you're confident, rejection doesn't sting, it clarifies. It tells you who's aligned with your energy and who isn't. And instead of chasing after the wrong person, you simply pivot without breaking stride. Picture this. A woman turns you down, and instead of looking wounded or scrambling to change her mind, you smile, nod, and say something like, "No worries, wish you the best," before walking away with genuine ease. That moment tells her more about your confidence than any compliment ever could. It shows her you don't need her approval to feel valuable. That kind of energy is magnetic, because most men can't do it. They beg, they get bitter, they lash out. But the man who shrugs off rejection with poise stands out not just in her eyes, but in the world. He knows that rejection isn't a reflection of his worth. It's simply part of the sorting process. He doesn't see it as a wall. He sees it as a signpost. And when you live like that, when you're not shaken by someone else's opinion or lack of interest, you naturally rise above the noise. Women feel that. Even the ones who reject you will remember how you carried yourself. Some will come back later, curious. Others won't. But it doesn't matter, because you've already moved forward. The deeper truth is this: desperation repels, confidence attracts. Rejection isn't the end of the story, it's a test of whether you've really built yourself from the inside. If you have, you won't fear it. You'll embrace it, learn from it, and keep walking. And the more you do, the more powerful you become. No, because everyone wants you, but because you've stopped needing them to. Number 9. The harder you are to figure out, the deeper she falls. In a world where most people wear their hearts on their sleeves and overshare every thought, a man who holds something back becomes a mystery, and mystery is magnetic. When a woman can't immediately figure you out, when she's unsure of how much you like her or what you're thinking, it triggers something primal in her mind. She starts analyzing, wondering, replaying every interaction, not because she's insecure, but because uncertainty creates tension and tension fuels desire. The truth is, women don't obsess over the guys who give them constant validation, who text back instantly, who always say exactly what they feel. Those men are predictable. They're emotionally available to the point of becoming boring. On the other hand, the man who's a little reserved, who answers with calm confidence, who doesn't reveal everything right away, that man becomes a puzzle. And the more she tries to solve it, the more emotionally invested she becomes. But being hard to read doesn't mean being cold or distant. It's about being composed. You're not trying to manipulate her, you're just not giving her every detail on a silver platter. You let her feel your energy without over-explaining it. You make her wonder what's behind that calm stare, what you meant by that pause, what you're like when you're fully open. It's the subtlety that draws her in. Because when everything is spelled out, there's no tension left. And without tension, there's no fire. Women crave a mental and emotional journey. They want to feel like they're unlocking you piece by piece, not flipping to the last page of the book on day one. The more space you leave for her imagination, the more invested she becomes. Think of yourself like a novel. She can't put down every page reveals something, but never the whole story. And as long as she's still reading, she's still chasing. A man who is slightly unpredictable, who doesn't always react the way she expects, who seems comfortable keeping a part of himself in reserve, that man lives in her head rent-free. Not because he played games, but because he gave her just enough to stay intrigued and just little enough to keep her hooked. And in the game of attraction, that's not confusion, it's power. Number 10. When used with purpose, silence hits harder than words ever could. In a world addicted to noise texts, notifications, over-explanation, and constant validation, a man who embraces silence becomes a force of mystery and control. Silence, when used with intention, speaks louder than any words. It creates space, tension, and impact. It draws attention without effort. And when it comes to women, silence applied at the right moment is one of the most powerful psychological tools you have. Most men try to fix things with words. When a woman pulls back, they chase. When she's upset, they explain. When things feel unclear, they over-communicate. But here's the truth. Talking too much often kills attraction. It removes the emotional tension. It puts the power in her hands. Silence, on the other hand, flips that dynamic. It makes her wonder. It makes her think. It forces her to sit with the absence of your energy, and that absence creates presence. A well-timed silence can say, "I won't tolerate this," or "You crossed a line," or even, "I've already moved on." And because you didn't say it with anger or argument, the message hits even deeper. Women respect men who know when not to speak. Because silence requires strength. It shows emotional control. It communicates value. But silence doesn't mean playing games or giving the cold shoulder. It's not about punishing, it's about positioning. You're not ignoring her to gain power. You're simply choosing not to invest your energy where it's not reciprocated. That kind of restraint isn't weakness, it's elite level discipline. And that's what makes it powerful. When you stop talking, she starts thinking. When you withdraw words, you create meaning. When you step back without drama, you leave space for her to reflect. Some of the strongest responses come when you say nothing at all, especially in conflict, especially after disrespect, especially when she expects you to react, because when you respond with silence, you break the pattern. And suddenly, she's no longer in control of the emotional narrative you are. In relationships, silence should never come from fear or avoidance. It should come from clarity. You've said enough. You've shown enough. Now it's her turn to come toward you or not. Either way, you've stayed in your frame. And that unspoken confidence, that's what lingers long after the noise fades. So now you see the truth attraction isn't about games, money, or surface charm. It's about power, not the kind that controls others, but the kind that masters yourself. These 10 hidden female weaknesses aren't tricks to manipulate women. They're mirrors, showing you where true masculine energy lives. Emotional certainty, mystery, purpose, presence, calm in chaos. Every one of these traits isn't just something she's drawn to. It's something you were built to embody. And here's the best part. You don't need to chase, perform, or prove anything. When you focus on becoming the man who holds his frame, who leads with quiet confidence, who moves from mission not emotion, you naturally flip the dynamic. You no longer ask, will she want me? You ask, is she ready for a man like me? That shift changes everything. So if you're tired of second-guessing yourself, tired of shrinking to fit her moods or chasing what slips, away now's the time to rise. Build your presence. Lock in your purpose. Let silence work for you. And most of all, stay grounded in the man you're becoming, because once you reclaim your power, everything else follows. Women notice. People respect you. And you begin to move through life with calm, magnetic certainty. That's the man she never forgets. That's the man no one can replace. If this video spoke to you, if even one of these truths hit deep, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that like button so this message reaches more men who need it. Subscribe for more content that keeps you sharp, focused, and unshakable. And if you're serious about mastering this mindset, check out our full Stoic wisdom, Mastering Emotions and Inner Strength playlist. We dive even deeper there. Until next time, stay grounded, stay mission-driven, and walk like the man who never begs because he doesn't have to.